attention to detail and personalized service. This is the hotel business famous for luxury hospitality. For over half a century, Prithviraj Singh Oberoi has made his guests' comfort his priority.
I think some of the things they say about my attention to detail is exaggerated.
But the awards and accolades keep coming, and there's no stopping this hotel legend.
Unless you learn something, at least one new thing every day, you're not doing your job.
The keys to creating and running one of the best hotel brands in the world. This week on P.R.S. Asia, I'm in New Delhi, India, to sample a taste of luxury that's been in the making for over 80 years. The Oberoi Group has a presence in 6 countries with 30 hotels, on top of other travel-related businesses. The public-listed company is worth about $1 billion, with revenue in 2015 hovering at $250 million. Once you get past the luxury and the sheer size of the group, you realize it didn't get to grow this big for this long without its challenges. Sure, they're the usual business cycles, but the group also had to go through the pain of losing properties in partition of India and the horror of losing lives in the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. This week I get a rare invitation to the home of the patriarch of the Oberoi Group for a one-on-one. I meet with Prithviraj Singh Oberoi. P.R.S. Oberoi, as he's more commonly known, started working for the group in 1955. His father, Mohan Singh Oberoi, bought his first hotel in 1934 and became the owner of the largest chain of hotels in British India. Your father, Mohan Singh, is a legend. What is the best advice that you've taken from him, that you've taken to heart?
He said, if you don't have passion, don't do it. And you must persevere. Even if you have failures, if you think you're going to be successful, persevere. And I've followed that.
How did that drive you as a young man?
As a young man, I never thought of it as being that important, but as time went on, I thought these two things were very important. Now tell our people too, who work for the company, that unless you have passion for what you do, then go and do something else.
The passion that people have can sometimes be motivated by money. Would that be one and the same thing, or different altogether?
I don't think you can buy passion. You can't buy passion, and I find that. And we pay our people quite well, but I think money is not the main driver in getting excellence from people.
When you took over the company from your father, what was it that you changed about the way things were done, and what did you leave untouched?
Well, the company was much smaller. My father knew many more employees than I did, because the company had grown. I still know a lot of employees by name. But that's something that I could not do, is to know so many people. He knew a lot of people by name, but the employees were about 1/3 in those days. So I think that was one of the big changes.
What was the point of knowing the names of the individual employees? What did that do to the business?
I think they feel that they're part of the company and the family.
So it's inevitable that as you grow bigger, you will have...
be more
you will
difficult.
be a little bit more impersonal.
It won't be impersonal because I still visit the hotels, I talk to the people. I don't go to the hotels as much as I used to, but I have to go to stay 3, 4, 5 days in a hotel, talk to the people, individually, collectively, to the senior people and the junior people. I'd get everybody together and talk to them and ask them, how we can improve things.
What values define your hotels? What is it that you believe drives the success of your hotels?
Well, my father used to say that you can never be successful unless you have good people. We have our own school.
That's right.
And we've trained our people well. We interview carefully, select carefully, then train them carefully. And I think our success has been we are known for our service, as you probably know. All the attributes, people write to me and say, oh, you have a fine hotel, but that's one paragraph, but then three other paragraphs about the people.
P.R.S. Oberoi designs and plans every one of his hotels, including the iconic villas reminiscent of the palaces of the British Raj. His entire philosophy revolves around his guests.
You're known to be, your hotels at least, are known to be very, very centered on the guest experience. So the question, therefore, will arise, how do you balance quality with profitability?
I don't think that their quality is necessarily, if you don't have quality, you don't have profitability, because people won't come to your hotel or your airline.
Sure. But what about the fact that margins will have to be squeezed then to make room for quality?
Not necessarily. I always tell our people, don't cut costs, cut waste. Because people are generally wasteful. We all are wasteful in one way or the other. And if you say cut costs, then your customer will suffer, or your people working in the hotel will suffer. So I always say cut waste, never cut costs.
Now, your attention to detail is the stuff of legend. Everywhere I go, every time I read about you, it's about how you look at the details. You can be looking at the architecture right down to the quality of eggs in a restaurant. And the reason why it's a big deal is because in this day and age, people at your level are not expected to look at things there.
I treat myself as a customer. And I've traveled a lot, I've stayed in the best hotels. So if it doesn't meet my standards, it doesn't meet the standards of our guests.
Do you expect the leaders that come after you to be like this?
I'm trying to see that my son does the same. And my nephew is there, and they're doing different things.
That's right.
But I think some of the things they say about my attention to detail is exaggerated. The story about eggs.
So that's not true?
Well, if I go to a hotel and I order eggs and the color of the yolk is not right, I'll tell the manager that this is not right. You can't make an omelette out of yolk, of boiled eggs, or fried eggs, when the yolk is not the right color. It doesn't look right.
Still ahead, coping with testing times for the Oberoi Group.
And I was horrified what I saw at the Oberoi. Everything was destroyed.
Hotelier P.R.S. Oberoi is known for his meticulous attention to detail. But his employees have also witnessed his ability to handle difficult situations. Their two hotels in Mumbai were seized by terrorists in the Mumbai terror attacks of 2008. Over 160 people died in the three-day siege throughout the city, 32 of them at the Oberoi hotels. One of their properties had to be shut for 1.5 years for renovations.
What was your first response when you heard that the Trident in Mumbai was one of the sites of the Mumbai attacks?
Well, I was staying in the hotel, but fortunately for me, I had to attend a function in North Bombay. So I left the hotel about an hour or an hour and a half before the attack happened. One of the vice presidents in Bombay accompanied me, was with me. And the function had finished and we were having dinner, maybe around 10 o'clock. And he came to me and he said, there's some trouble in Nariman Point. And I said, what trouble? He said, it's some gang war. So I didn't pay too much attention. Gang wars, few people shooting each other. It's serious, but then a little later he came to me and he said, it's a terrorist attack. So I couldn't go back. The hotel was surrounded by police and a lot of press, of course. We are all out of the hotel. Please don't come, stay where you are. And I stayed there. All night I watched television. I thought we'd lost both hotels, the Trident and the Oberoi. Because as you know, television channels repeat things very often. And I thought that both hotels had been burnt completely. Thankfully, it wasn't true. So after 3 days, I went back when they had what they call sanitized the hotels. The Trident, there was not too much damage because they had entered the Trident. But their aim was to go to the Oberoi. They wanted to kill important people who were staying there, who always stayed there, bankers, heads of state, etc. And I was horrified what I saw at the Oberoi. Everything was destroyed.
What was the first thought that came to your mind?
I didn't know what to say or do. Well, first thing we did was call all the staff in the ballroom and tell them that their jobs are safe and that they'll be paid full wages, which we did.
What about your interactions? Do you remember any interactions with family members of people who perished during?
Of people who were working in the hotel.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about those interactions.
It was very sad, and I felt very bad that people in the hotel, employees, had been killed for by these terrorists. I also met guests who were in the hotel that day, that night, who had eventually been evacuated. There were still people in the hotel while the firing and the terrorists were shooting people. So it was very, very sad, I would say, and I was mortified with what happened.
Is there anything that you have changed about the way you run the business since the attacks?
More security.
But that's right across hotels throughout India.
Practically no security in those days. We didn't expect it. Now we have very, very good security in all our hotels.
So what's one advice you would give to any leader who has to handle a crisis?
Stay calm.
Easier said than done, though.
Yeah. But I was pretty calm. I was mortified in a way, but calm. Maybe not at that time, but a week later, what do we do now? When I came back to Delhi and met our people. And for a month, we didn't really come to any consensus. What should we do? Which consultants should we get? Then I decided that if you get outside consultants, it'll take forever. It'll be 6 months before you get any drawings. So I said, we'll do it as it goes, and we did it. And I must say our people were very good.
Wonderful. So besides the Mumbai attacks, what was the other big challenge that you've had to face in your career?
Well, the first Gulf War, people just stopped traveling. I was in London that summer, after the war, and I went to Heathrow, and I was going to go to Europe. And Heathrow, there were more employees, airline employees, than people, and people just stopped traveling. So when people stop traveling, it's a crisis for the airline industry and for the hotel industry.
So what did you do about that?
There's not much you can do.
You just wait it out?
We wait it out.
Well, what did you do in the meantime while...
Well, I came back, talked to the people again, and see how business can be improved. But more Indian guests, we try to market to more Indian guests. Encourage them to travel, give incentives to travel within India and use the hotels. That had some positive effect. The trouble is that we don't know what can happen in this uncertain world.
But you've been in the business so long. Will you ever be in a position to say that we're ready?
I don't think so,
No.
because as you know, the world is so uncertain. Now, the terrorism is the big challenge now. We suffered in 2008, but the world is suffering now.
You know, Mr. Oberoi, I get the impression that even as you talk about the good times, at the back of your mind, there's always that possibility of something happening.
Because I think I've been in the business for 55 years, and things were much simpler in the old days. The world was slower, people were nicer to each other. Now, things are different. You pick up the newspaper every day, there's some crisis somewhere.
Crisis or not, you can't keep a good man down. At 87, P.R.S. Oberoi is still integral to the group's growth.
Most of my time is spent now on new hotel, plans for new hotels.
The Oberoi hotels and villas have racked up accolades and awards, but there's no resting on laurels for the 87-year-old patriarch of the group.
The hotel industry today is facing unprecedented changes thanks to the internet. You've got guests who are extremely price sensitive. They know everything about the hotel even before they step into it. You know, in a case like that, how do you stay ahead of the competition?
Well, I wouldn't say that we are always ahead of the competition. And I think it would be a mistake to consider that you're the best, because then you're fooling yourself. I think you have to do your best in the circumstances. Fortunately, we are well regarded by our customers. If you see our travel advisories, I don't know if you see them, I see them periodically. Very, very good. For the second successive year, this year, we have been rated as the best hotel brand in the world. So I think we're doing reasonably well.
You know, in a case like that, when we're talking about winning awards, it's easy to be complacent, no?
That's the problem. It is a problem when you win so many awards, and we won many awards. And then you have to be very watchful.
How do you keep them on that tight leash then?
Well, you have to see what the customers have to say. I think that's the only measure.
Do you get disappointed when you don't win awards?
Well, we've been winning awards for the last so many years.
I know.
If we don't win awards, of course, I'll be disappointed.
So that still means something to you.
Of course,
it is.
of course. Because it's the customer who's giving us the awards.
Besides their base in India, the group has hotels in Indonesia, the Middle East and North Africa. P.R.S. Oberoi is 87 years old, and he's always on the lookout for new opportunities.
What are the growth plans for the group, say in the next 5-10 years?
Well, in 10 years, I hope we'll have 30 hotels now. We have about 20 Oberoi hotels, the rest are Trident. If we have another 20, 15 Oberoi hotels in the next 10 years, I'll be very happy.
And you're on track?
We're opening 3 hotels this year.
What about the rest of Southeast Asia? I mean, you have two hotels in Indonesia,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot that you can look at.
Yeah, Thailand, we're looking at. We nearly signed a contract, but then there was all this trouble, political trouble.
In Bangkok.
And in Bangkok, and the airport was closed for a week. So we thought about it because it was very uncertain. We're looking at it again.
So tell me a little bit about your succession plans.
Succession plan is very clear. My son is now the CEO and managing director. My nephew is in charge of planning new hotels, works with me very closely. And the president of the company is not an Oberoi or a relative. And I believe that we can't continue to be a family company forever. We have to professionalize.
So what does your report card on your son Vikram say? You happy with the way he's doing things?
He's doing things. I wrote him a note. I said, the one thing that you must learn is to manage time properly.
Why do you say that?
Because that's something that people tend not to do. If you can't manage your time, you can't manage anything. Everybody thinks that they're immortal. Every day our lives are shorter. Lots of people don't realize that. So every day you lose and don't do what you're supposed to do, so loss of time.
And what of you would you like for him to take as he runs the organization? I know you tend to take that step back, and I think it's very gracious of you to do that. But what do you hope for him to take with him that is a part of you?
That our employees are happy and looked after, and our guests are happy when they come and stay in our hotels. And of course, no waste of money. And profitability should be looked at very carefully.
And what is your role today, Mr. Oberoi, in the organization, now that you've stepped back from the operations?
Advice from time to time when I'm asked what to do. I don't interfere in the day-to-day work of the company. My main emphasis is on development, new hotels, planning new hotels, refurbishing older hotels. But most of my time is spent on new hotel plans for new hotels.
If you think about certain things that, there is this saying, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't be too obsessed by things that don't matter. So in your experience today, what do you believe are things that sometimes we do spend too much time on when we really shouldn't?
I've always found that meeting people, you have to be careful who you meet. You have to be selective. And I think meeting is you learn. I learn something every day. And I tell my son, unless you learn something, at least one new thing every day, you're not doing your job.
What's the new thing you learned yesterday then?
Yesterday I learned that if you don't have a good, investigate when you're building a hotel with a partner, properly.
Do your due diligence, make sure you do it well. Yeah.
You have to be very diligent, very, very diligent.
This is going to be a very, very difficult last question. What do you think is your greatest achievement so far?
Well, I think that I've received many awards for what I've done. And I think I've done a lot for Indian tourism. I think that's I'm very satisfied, and I think everybody has recognized that. And I think that's been my greatest achievement, and I'm very proud of it. Tourism is picking up, fortunately. We have good hotels. At one time, we only had good hotels in the main cities. Now we have good hotels in other cities. So I think that is my contribution to the industry and to the country.
And the best is yet to be. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Have a good trip back home.
I will, certainly.